Hello, in this video we will be solving equations by combining like terms as part of the equation solving process. So remember, solving an equation means to figure out the one number that can get plugged in for the variable to make the equation true. You want to isolate the variable or move everything away from the variable onto the other side of the equation using inverse or opposite operations. So you can see in the first problem here, the left-hand side has a whole bunch of stuff going on. So all of this is supposed to be the same as 7. So looking at this, there's no distributing this time. There's no parentheses where I have to hand out multiplication. But what I do notice is there are 12x here. And notice I grabbed the sign to go with it, a positive 12x and a negative 18x. They're like terms. They're both x's. So really in this equation, someone was a little bit sloppy and didn't put all the x's together. So the first thing I want to do is put all those x's together. So I'm going to, in my calculator, 12 plus negative 18, which is, yes, the same as 12 minus 18, and I have negative 6. So the first line here, this negative 5 is still there. We have negative 6x's, which equals 7. So notice how I'm using the subtraction sign, but it also can get grouped with the symbol. So negative 5 minus 6x, there's negative 6x's here. So again, just like in the last video, now I'm looking at to isolate the variable now that the x's are all together. So these guys are like best friends, so I'm going to go to this minus 5, this negative 5. To get this to 0, to cancel out, I would do the opposite and add 5. But whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So these guys cancel, leaving negative 6x. It's important to remember the sign to go along with it. Negative 6x equals 12. So if I go back to the variable, remember you're looking between this negative 6 and x. There is no symbol, so that means it's multiplication. So I do the opposite of multiplying, and I'm going to divide. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. Negative 6 divided by negative 6 is 1. There's one x. There's an x here. And 12 divided by negative 6 would be negative 2. Now, just like on the last video with distributing, I can plug this into the calculator to check, which means if it was a multiple choice question, I could plug in the choices for x until I found the one that matches 7 that this equation is supposed to equal. So remember, between 12 and x is multiplication, and the 18 and x is also multiplication. I'm going to plug this left side in, but anywhere there's an x, I'm going to plug in negative 2. So the equation was negative 5 plus 12 times x, but we now think it's 12 times negative 2, minus 18 times x, which we think is negative 2, and I should get 7 because I got my answer right. So again, the calculator can help me check. If I go to number 2, okay, again, I'm going to draw a line down both sides of the equal sign to separate the two sides. This time it's the right-hand side that did not combine like terms. It's a little messy, so we're going to clean it up first. Distributing equations, first we handed out the multiplication. Combining like terms, we're combining pieces together first. I can't solve for x when there's some here and there's some over here. So I have 3 x's right here, and I have 3 more right here. They're both positive. 3 x's and 3 more makes 6 x's. I also have this plus 6, and all of that equals negative 12. So now that I have x in one spot, I know where the x is and what I got to get rid of. This times 6 and this plus 6. So these guys are like best friends, so I'm going to go to the plus 6 first. You do the opposite of adding, and I subtract 6 on both sides. So I have 6x on the right side. Now here's where I'm going to recommend that you use your calculator. I get a lot of mistakes with this spot. So if I plug in negative 12, oops. I pause for a second and fix what I just. Alright, I think I fixed what I did with my calculator there. So we wanted to type in negative 12, take away 6 to get negative 18. I get a lot of students that confuse the rules with integers here with a negative and subtracting, so we always recommend to just hop to the calculator and type in that quick calculation. So we have negative 18 is equal to 6 times x. So again, I go back, here's x, I want to get rid of this times 6. The opposite of multiplying would be to divide. So I do that on both sides to keep the balance. 6 divided by 6 is really 1x, but we can also write that as x. x is equal to negative 18 divided by 6. So I know that is negative 3. I can always hop to my calculator to do that quick calculation. So again, if I go to my calculator to check, right, if I use on the right hand side, if I plug all of this in, but use negative 3 for x, I should get negative 12 if my answer is correct. So 3 times negative 3 plus 6, oops, go back and delete that, plus 6 plus 3 times x, which we think is negative 3. I got negative 12, so I know it checks out and it works. So the calculator can always help me check. All right, number 3. I have a cleanup on both sides of the equal side this time. On the left side, it's an easy, quick one. 3 and 7 can combine together. That's really 10. Now, on the right-hand side, there's a couple things I see. First of all, the x's are not all brought together. There's 12 x's and there's a negative 2x. So if I have 12 and I add negative 2 to that, I will have 10x. And remember, you can always use your calculator for quick calculations just to be sure you have the right numbers. Because if you don't combine those correctly, everything else you do isn't going to work. I also see 23 and 7 can be combined together. 23 and 7 more makes 30. So 10 is the same as 10 times something plus 30. So now that I've cleaned up, combined the like numbers on the left side, combined the variables and the numbers or the constants on the right side, these guys are best friends. I'm going to keep them together and start with this plus 30. I get rid of addition with subtraction. Okay, so I have 10x on the right, 10 minus 30. Practice using my calculator here. 10 take away 30, I'm going to be in the negative world, so I got negative 20. So negative 20 is equal to 10x. So again, if I go back to the variable, how is this 10 attached? Between them, if I don't see the operation, it's multiplication, so I undo that with division. So that cancels to an x. Negative 20 divided by 10, x is negative 2. And if I wanted to check it, if I plug in negative 2 for x and plug in the right-hand side, it should equal 10, which is 3 plus 7. Okay, I believe this is our last one for combining like terms for the first part of this. So I'm going to separate the two sides with an equal sign. I'm again noticing that on the left side, all the x's are not together. There's some combining like terms I need to fix up. So I see 7x. And I see a negative 5x. Notice that I pulled the symbol with that number. There's no symbol here, so it's implied that it's positive 7. So if I have 7 x's and I lose 5 of them, I have 2 x's. I also see a 5 and a 1 that can be combined together because they're just numbers. So 2x plus 6 is the same as 2. So these two lines are the same. One just is cleaned up and put like terms together. So here's the best friends, keep them together. Let's get rid of addition first. The opposite, the inverse, would be subtraction. So they cancel. I'm not going to put a plus 0, I'm just going to cancel them out. So 2 times something is equal to 2 minus 6. So again, I recommend using your calculator to double check calculations. That's going to be negative 4. So if I go back, here's x, times 2 is attached. So I do the opposite and divide by 2. So x is equal to negative 4 divided by 2. I can use my calculator to help me with the calculations. X is negative 2. Okay, so the next video is going to continue with combining like terms. But I'm going to stop here and have you work on page 2 in the equation solving packet. Thanks for watching.